baby 2 weeks ago, like the weekend before Thanksgiving. Um, and her parents got COVID.
Oh no.
And so, like, that Sunday would have been like her mom's last day in quarantine, the day that we were going to do it.
Yeah.
But decided to hold off on it until
Yeah.
the weekend before Christmas. And then that actually allows my sister to go. But then one of Emily's sisters isn't able to go because she was coming out at Thanksgiving from Colorado. But yeah, like she'll be getting in for Christmas that night. But yeah, we,
Okay,
we
I'm
are
ready.
streaming on YouTube now.
Is that what that countdown was a minute ago?
That was me stopping the recording and restarting it,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and that seemed to get it working.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
So-
Well, YouTube, I'm
Recording
Kevin.
started.
John, there's John with the beard. Oh, and there's and that's Jeff, who's our guest today, who designed our logo, which is cool. So you're in the little studio with us, right, Jeff? So you can see your little logo up above John from our view.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. I love this. I love this.
Well,
This little
and-
platform.
If you
Nice.
run over to YouTube real quick, it has our logo on there as well.
Yes. Or on Instagram or on our website.
No, like it's on the live stream.
Oh, is it really? It's like they put it on as part of. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's part
great.
of the watermark.
Nice.
I don't know how to get to our YouTube.
Just go to YouTube and search
There it
Live
is.
Genius, and then
Hey,
realize
wow.
that
Literally, there's us. Like there's us
Yeah.
right now, and it says live. And there's Jeff, and there's you, and there's me.
yeah, and give it a few seconds, and then you'll just hear all that again.
Yep.
Oh man, I don't need to hear more of my. Oh my gosh, I don't like this. I don't like this. I just heard you saying again, John. Give
Yeah.
it a few seconds, and you'll hear you again. Okay, well, cool. We're streaming, which is great, and we'll eventually maybe promote this in a more stylish way. But
We
Cool.
can also send this to Facebook as well if we want,
wow,
which I think we'd get a lot more hits on there.
I'd say
watching it than-
just throw it up right now. I mean, I don't know.
Well, give me a moment and I'll do that. Just takes a few.
I'll go ahead, and as you're doing that, Jeff. So we're gonna do our thing. We'll do tidy up. We'll have you quiz us, and I don't know that I need to give you much direction. Just kind of we'll hold your hand, and you can take the lead, and we'll discuss. But yeah, I don't think there's anything super specific that I need to tell you. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. I'm assuming you're gonna get a lot of tidy up next week.
I can't even tell you how excited I am for this episode because of how silly and random it is.
There's a lot to know about logging, and I don't know very much of it, but
I figured so. I love. Oh, did you wear a flannel just for today? By the way,
yeah, I did.
that is
I just put it
great.
on. Yeah.
Here, give me a minute and I'll put a flannel on.
Oh man, does that mean I got to pull a flannel? All right, I'll put my flannel on too.
Well,
Hang
you
on,
got your
hang on.
Christmas shirt on.
I know. Well, I'll put a flannel on over it. Is what I'll do. Hang on, we got to make this happen. Okay. Oh, you got a nice green one there. Is that even?
I actually wore it for the majority of today. It was only around supper that I took it off.
Okay, there we go. Yes, I have my Christmas shirt on, and for those who can't see it, you guys haven't even seen it. It says "Light it up," and it's a Christmas tree with all these lights on it. It's such a clever little play on words.
Nice.
All right, we got our flannels on for logging. I think how are you doing, John? Are we on Facebook?
I'm working on it. Just give me
Okay.
a moment here.
Okay, because
Like,
otherwise,
I gotta get like a bunch of finally figured out where I needed to click to say we're doing it, and then I think that goes there. Nope, that's the stream key. So that goes there.
did you hear that?
Yeah,
Anyone
I heard
that?
it.
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I felt like that was the appropriate time. That's the other cool thing about this, Jeff, is I don't know if you have access to it, but we have
Have you put the buttons
ability-
in?
No, nothing's in yet, but do you have a media option on the right-hand side of the screen?
Yeah,
where
you
it
should
says
have it.
Studio, media, and chat.
I see.
Well,
I
you
have
might-
studio and chat.
Yeah, so he doesn't have media because he's a guest. So the soundboard is just for us. So we have a media
So if
one in the
I
middle,
sent him the producer
Like-
link,
then he would have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There, it's like it's a little board. Like I can play. Let's see. Whoa, that was loud. Did you hear that?
no.
Oh, no one heard it. How funny. Oh, because it's in preview. All right. Okay. Here, there's gonna be loud laughing here right now. Here we go. Here. It was the end of it, but there's all these sound effects that we could use if we wanted to. I might have to keep that in mind. I'm gonna keep that one handy. Okay.
I think I need to stop and start the recording again.
If that's fine with me.
Okay.
All right.
Do either of you ever have a beverage during this process?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
occasionally.
Are you having one?
Do you mind if I do?
Oh
No,
gosh.
go
now
ahead.
That means I need to get one.
Yeah,
What are you
I'll
drinking?
get one.
Just like throwing everything off here.
Yeah. No, we got to get settled. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna go grab a Blue Moon because that's what I have. Hang on.
Give me a moment. I'm gonna get a 2 of tarts. I think we're streaming on Facebook now.
Yeah, my oh yeah, last week I guess that was last week. I had the mango margarita and it
Oh,
ooh, that thing was strong. I'm glad I'm just having a beer tonight because I should be able to keep my faculties about me. Great suggestion. Great suggestion.
okay.
It'll loosen us up enough so that we're actually entertaining. I'm also thirsty, so that was nice. All right, John, are we on Facebook? We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube.
I know YouTube is
This is-
working. I'm gonna
We'll just assume we are,
check Facebook.
and then we'll
I'm
get the
looking
show on the
Facebook, but
road.
I don't know if I'm looking in the right place. So.
Oh,
Are
you're
you-
looking on Facebook.
Yeah.
I bet that beer's even nicer after a day of a throwing up toddler, huh?
It's pretty nice.
Much
One of
needed
those-
afterwards.
One of those days you're like, I've earned this.
Yeah.
I've earned this. I'm going to sip it and enjoy it.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop looking at Facebook. I don't know how it works.
Well, I'm sort of talking to an audience simultaneously, just in
Right.
case we are streaming. We may be on YouTube. We may be on Facebook. We're probably on a pre-show, no matter what, that patrons are hearing if they listen. We should, if there's any patron, literally, if you're a patron right now, not you, Jeff, because you are a patron, and you're hearing my voice right now, shoot us an email. Just say, hey, I heard you say that thing in the pre-show where you said, shoot me an email. This is me collecting data for, do people listen to our pre-show? That's what I just did there, John. So don't
Yeah.
cut this. John edits the pre-show. Don't cut that out on accident. One time, John got up to go get something, and he was gone for a couple minutes, and I just said, John, I'm literally just saying this to see if you notice when you're editing. And then
I heard it.
And then he's like, I finished the pre-show, and I heard it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have just easily skipped over that space.
He could have, yeah, but I'm sure he saw the sound waves or whatever
That's awesome.
waveforms. All right, well, I say we get going on recording. I say we jump in and make the magic
No,
happen.
totally.
I'm gonna play as I don't remember, but I'm gonna play the actual theme song, Jeff. But the other ones we're just gonna kind of jump into and then come back from. I'm not gonna actually play them live. You've heard them enough times.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
We'll guide you through it.
Okay.
Everyone feel good?
And just to make sure, I'm just using the built-in microphone and speakers for this. It sounds okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is better when you're kind of leaning forward like that.
Oh, okay.
When
Alright.
like if you catch yourself sitting back, just know that it's a little bit. But even if you're sitting, don't feel like you have to be right up next to it. But technically, the closer you are to it, But it's when I edit, I'll cut out any like background noise just that it picks
Oh,
up,
okay.
and so it'll sound fine. It'll sound fine. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Well, unless there are any objections, I'm gonna hit that theme song.
No, I think I'm good.
Yay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. I have thought about shaving the mustache, but then the theme song would no longer be true. Like, that's literally what's keeping my mustache on my face. Then I wouldn't be running around LA with my mustachio, you know? Then I'd be a liar every time we played that theme song. And hello, I have 2 people I'm talking to, including the audience. John's here, and let's just bring his voice on out. Jeff, what's your first word gonna be on this episode of the podcast?
Tidy up, I think. I think it's got to be tidy up. I think there's plenty of tidy up coming. I'm just going to set everyone up for that. I don't know anything about our topic for today, but I made a quiz about it anyway. Hopefully it'll be fun.
So that's the voice of Jeff McAvoy. You've heard his voice before if you've listened to every episode. He is and if you're looking at your phone or wherever you're listening from right now, there's a logo. This is the man who created that logo, and you know what? For that, I think this is an appropriate time for like a round of applause. All right, that's enough of that. If you listen to the pre-show, you'll know that was an inside joke. We discovered we had all these sound effects, but for reals, this we love this logo, and we had Jeff on to talk about the logo, and it somehow, one of the things we talked about is that we are the LOG, the Log podcast, Lack of Genius. And how funny would that be if we did an episode on logging? Well, it's happening. It's reality. And not a single one of the 3 of us knows a thing about logging. But Jeff, we're not only the only show that makes our guests do work, we're the only show that brings on experts who know nothing about what they're quizzing us on. So, Jeff, we appreciate your willingness to use your lack of genius and come on with us. So you've prefaced a little bit with nothing. What else can you tell us that without spoiling a quiz about logging or about what you're doing today?
Yeah, I truly am lacking genius on logging, but as I did research for this, I found out just how much genius I lack. There's a lot to know about logging, and some pretty fascinating stuff. So I won't be able to go like really in depth on like the answers to the questions, but there's some pretty cool stuff that like might spark some additional research for some listeners. It's some pretty fascinating things about logging. So, and a lot of different categories and areas. So I tried to kind of vary it with the quiz questions. So
you've already enlightened me. I would have thought there was one area of logging. Turns out there are multiple areas of logging. That's that's one of the things about we should also say, if there happens to be a logger listening right now, please tidy us up. Send us an email, hit us up on social media. We mean no disrespect to the logging industry. In fact, I'm excited to put them on the spotlight right now. And so, and this is one of the things I like about this podcast is I don't feel like it's a risk doing some weird random subject like logging. I feel like it's something our audience will hopefully appreciate. Like, I'll learn a surface level amount about logging today. I know nothing about it, so let's see what happens, right?
Perfect.
I think we should also, by the way, I want to point out, Jeff showed up today. We can see him on webcam. We're also streaming on YouTube and possibly Facebook. And I noticed Jeff was wearing a flannel, and I asked if it was because of the logging, and he said yes. So John and I put our flannels on. So I'm going to suggest if you're listening to this, just pause it for a second, go grab the nearest flannel, put it on, and just really feel the logging power, okay?
Yeah, you'll be glad you did, for sure.
All right, well, let's get into tidy up then, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that was good. Yes. All right. You want to bring us out of a tidy up, John, or you want me to? I always ask you, and you usually say me, but I want to make sure I continue to give you the option.
I can, but
Okay.
Facebook was being stupid.
Okay, so we weren't
And-
streaming.
Great.
No, I evidently didn't actually do all the stuff to hit get go live, and then it kind of just froze. So I closed the page, reopened it, and then I think in order for Facebook to work, we'd have to stop and start again. So
Oh,
saying-
okay. Here, let's not do it then, right?
no,
Here's what you
But
should do.
we still have
Bring
YouTube.
it- bring us out a tidy up, and you can do the first tidy up, which is tidying up what I just said about being on Facebook.
That sounds good.
Okay, all right, you take it when you're ready then.
Yep. Okay. Back from tidy up theme.
Yes.
So, due to technical difficulties, we've got a real live or a live tidy up here.
We call it real-time tidy up, right?
Yeah, real-time tidy up. And Kevin, you're incorrect. We are not currently streaming on
Wait.
Facebook.
That was for me. I'm incorrect. Yeah.
But that was just due to some technical difficulties and trying to figure out how it works on the go. On my part, next week will be better.
Yeah, and we never know what time usually we hop on here Sunday nights at 6 p.m. We'll try to make that a regular thing, but it doesn't always work out that way.
6 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, sorry. I'm living in a West Coast world. 6 p.m. Pacific. Right now we have 3 guests. We have 3 people on here, and all of us are in different time zones. So,
some of us are in the right one.
Oh yeah, that would be you, I guess.
Which one?
The East
Well, I
Coast
mean, if
one.
you're looking at the map, it's on the right.
Yes, you were the furthest right in the Eastern time zone. I do have a tidy up from last week, the Gremlins episode. Well, Gremlins and Spam, but my tidy up is about Gremlins. You guys saw me during the pre-show. I ran off to grab my. I was really excited because I realized I had something to tidy up. I had to get my flash drive that has the quiz on it because I need. It's not that I made any mistake because I'm usually pretty perfect whenever I do any of these things. But I meant to mention 2 cool facts, so you're getting even more Gremlins action. When I asked you who voiced Gizmo the Mogwai, I included Emilio Estevez as an option. And the reason I did that is because he was in the running to be the main character, Billy, in Gremlins, which I think would have... I'm glad that he wasn't, even though I like Emilio Estevez, but I think that would have been just... It's just crazy to think about casting choices and how we were just that close to having Emilio Estevez, the coach of the Mighty Ducks, being, friends with Gizmo. So I meant to bring that up. And then the other big thing that I wanted to say for Gremlins fans out there is, as we know, there are 2 Gremlins movies. There is a 3rd one in the works. Now there's super locked up info on it. Nothing has been super confirmed, but Christopher Columbus, who wrote the first one or produced the first one, he is writing it, and he described it as he does have a script, and he described it as twisted and dark. And the concept is this: if all the Gremlins come from Gizmo getting wet and feeding his Mogwai offspring after midnight, should Gizmo be eliminated? Which is a terrifying thing for me as a Gizmo fan, but it's I guess that would be a logical...
Yeah.
If Gremlins are wreaking havoc on the world repeatedly. The last thing I'll tidy up, because I know this is not a Gremlins episode, and I know not everyone shares the love of Gremlins that I do, is that the one thing that is confirmed is an animated series coming out. I can't remember even where it's coming out at, but there's an animated series. It's a prequel. It happens in the 1920s, and it's about when this young boy who may be the old man in the first movie, but he finds Gizmo. He finds a young Mogwai, and it's sort of here's what happened, 60 years before the first movie came out. So, anyways, thank you for letting me indulge, because I could talk Gremlins all day. Are we tidied up? Do we feel good?
I think so.
Okay, let's quiz it up then.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Okay. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is uncharted territory where 3 human beings are on a microphone with no prior knowledge to the subject, except for the research that one of them has done. the research in the last couple days that one of them has done. So Jeff McAvoy is here, and he is going to quiz us on logging. We've already kind of given an intro, but man, I'm just going to kind of hand off the reins to you, Jeff. If you have anything else you want to say, or if you want to just jump right into the quiz, we'll follow your lead.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you mentioned before, but this would be a great opportunity for lots of people to send in corrections and things. And I think you mentioned too, it definitely is no disrespect, just a lack of genius. I've actually gained respect through doing this research, so hopefully some of the listeners will too. But I think I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah, we may actually be starting some sort of revolution of respecting loggers and thinking about where do the things that we have come from? thank you, loggers, for doing this work
Yep.
for us. So
Well,
anywho,
yeah, I mean, I was over at my in-laws earlier, and my father-in-law asked me, what tonight's theme was, and I said logging. And he knows that I have an environmental science degree, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
he asked me, what my thoughts were. I was like, it really depends on how it's done, because you could do it, in a good fashion, or you could just go and wipe everything out. I mean, so.
Is John tapping into anything that you have questions on, Jeff? Just out of curiosity, or is that just sort of your understanding as well?
No, I
'Cause-
actually I thought about putting in a question about that.
We did limit
I
you to 6
didn't.
questions. So yeah, because deforestation, that's like a real
Mhm.
thing and a real problem in Amazon rainforest that should not be getting cut down. I'm not gonna act like I have a ton of knowledge on that. I know it happens. But I agree with you, John, that there is, much like anything, there's a reason and a purpose for a logging industry that is very valuable to us as
Oh, yeah.
humans. And I think if it's done right, and I'm glad you have a degree that you can sort of affirm that for us. So yeah, good points. I say we do it then.
All right. So the first question is a true or false. So you think about, imagine being a logger and what that might look like.
Uh-huh.
So, true or false, to become a logger in the United States, you must first be certified by the American Logging Association, the ALA.
The ALA, this is true or false. What I'm going to say, I don't have an answer yet, but in order to become one of our loggers, we should start the ALA if it doesn't already exist. We will start the American Logging Association, and to become a fan of our show and become a logger, you will have to be anointed by us.
Could we just call our Patreon that?
Yeah, anyone who's a patron is now certified by the ALA, the good old Allah. What are you thinking, John?
We should call it the last American Logging Association, so that way it could be Lala.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh,
I like that.
John. Wow.
like that.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Time out. I just gotta. Okay. All right. The Lala.
But,
yeah.
I could see it being treated almost like a union in a way.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go with true. And to be,
Yeah.
kind of like, bar associations, in order to be legally called a logger, you have to be a part of this, but you could still do logging, but not be an official logger, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. But yeah, I think I'm going to choose true also. What's very exciting about this and why I like bringing a guest on is that, John and I, we kind of get to know each other's quiz styles. I don't know Jeff's quiz style. He could very much be like, oh, I'm going to make this real hard. And really it's the LALA. It's the Last American Logging Association. And I'm going to tell them American logging. So I don't know, but I'm going to lean into true and say that is also true. So yeah, we're both locking in true.
All right, you are both false. I mean,
Oh.
you're wrong. It's
We're
false.
wrong. we're both false.
You are not false. I made up the American Logging Association.
You did. All
Yeah.
right.
But the reason I put this question on this, I'll give you a little clue about my quiz style here. None of them are going to be wrong based on like a tiny technicality or like a tiny.
That takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, no, but but then it's gonna help me because I'm an overthinker, so that's one less thing I overthink.
That's why it takes the fun out of it.
You see me tortured.
That is a fun part of the show. I agree. But I put this question in because I was reading about what loggers do and just how a job it actually is. And I was actually fascinated that there's no requirement to become a logger. You just gotta work for a logging company or a lumber company, and
So what
maybe
you're
they'll hand
saying
you a
is,
chainsaw and then you're
I
a
mean,
logger.
are there unions or
That's a
no?
great question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It sounds like from what you've seen, we need to start some activism and start a logging union
I'm
and
telling
help
you.
all of the loggers out there.
It's probably not a bad idea. It does seem to be a very dangerous job, and it seems to be pretty low-paying work as well. So yeah, it seems
Wow.
a union could be.
We may be fighting for
order.
loggers' rights. Jeff, do
Or
you love
this
so far?
could just be floating down the river too. I mean, you never know.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do a podcast about. We're gonna have to do one about log rides. Is the next one. But Jeff, do you love that? We have at least twice now asked you some sort of follow-up question about like like you are an expert. We're gonna keep doing that, just so you know.
I understand. That's my role here, but I don't have any answers.
See, this is where all the tidy ups for next week are going to come from. They're going to come
Exactly.
from Jeff
Yeah.
getting answers to those questions.
Yeah. Send all your questions to Jeff McAvoy at no. Okay. Well, we both missed that one. There is no. That's
Nope.
very interesting. That is a really interesting fact. There's nothing you need to do to get certified, at least according to our research. Your research, Jeff. Sorry, I'm taking your credit.
Yes.
We're 0 for 1, and you ready for number 2? Should we go for it?
Sure. I should say that last fact came from jobmonkey.com, which somehow was one of the best sources of information about the profession of logging that I could find. So
Shout out Job Monkey. All right.
Article there. Okay, question number 2. So this is also about being a logger. So there are several roles. Logging crew. One of the higher level jobs is called the feller.
Oh.
Before becoming a feller, what job is a most likely entry role for a new logger?
Wow.
The 4 options are spotter, chokerman, chainsaw caddy, and log loader.
First question. Are these all actual job titles?
You can't tell us that. You
I
can't
don't
tell
think
us
I
that.
can answer that.
No, I think you can.
Okay, they are not all actual
Okay.
job titles.
Now, which ones did you make up?
I hope. Here's the one I think you made up that I hope you didn't make up is chainsaw caddy. Oh my God, I hope that's a real thing, but I have a feeling it's not going to be. And I'm picturing him like the caddy in Happy Gilmore, the homeless guy with the beard, carrying around a little satchel with the chainsaw in it.
Is he
Cleaning
carrying
it
the
with his
chainsaw for the feller?
Wow, it's a great question. It's a great question.
This might be a horrible joke, but are there lady fellers?
Oh, hang on.
There must be.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with spotter.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to also. I mean, that seems to be.
I mean, that seems like a fairly easy thing. You're just spotting, like making sure people are staying safe. I'm assuming and out of the way. And
Yeah, I would guess it's a relatively quote unquote easy job. I'm sure it takes some experience and some learning, but it's also, I would guess, is a really important job, and so one that you really need to
Right.
learn and pay attention, and you can really get seen from the higher ups is like, oh, that guy's actually really plugged in as a spotter. So I'm gonna choose it too, John. Even though I want to choose something different from you, I'm picking it.
Okay, you are both wrong again.
Oh my God, it's gonna be the
it's gonna be
chainsaw
the
caddy.
first 0-0 tie.
Log loader. Yeah, it might be. What is it, Jeff? What's the answer?
It's not the chainsaw caddy. I did make that up. I had a similar vision about that. I just thought that would be a great, someone's like, hand me the chainsaw, and then they get to work.
Need a 9-iron.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. The correct answer is actually the chokerman.
Wow. Okay.
Which I thought was a very strange name. So that's why that jumped out to me in my research.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
But after the trees are felled in a forest, they need to be hauled out of the forest. And so the job of the chokerman, this is actually one of the most dangerous jobs, which is super fascinating. They basically need to tie a giant cable around this felled tree and attach it to whatever vehicle is going to haul it out. But they have to scramble around these falling trees and attach these cables, and sometimes a ride along with it. And if the cable becomes detached or breaks or something, it can whip around. And this article says it can slice a man in half.
No, it
Oh
could.
my
Yeah.
God. I was
Well,
gonna say
there's
decapitate, but yeah. Oh my God.
There's so much
Yeah.
tension on those cables.
Yeah, and it's called the
Oh my
chokerman, which is a horrible job title, I think, but that's what it's
Yeah,
called. So
Chokerman.
I made up all the other titles. Chokerman.
Oh, nice. Those are really good. I definitely thought the other ones were would have been real
Right?
jobs. And maybe
there
there is some
very
form
well
of
maybe a
spotter.
spotter, but,
There may be,
but
yeah.
I didn't find that in my research. So
Wow. I was God. the Okay, so I for years I helped my dad line a football field. This is connected, I swear. And the way we would do it is we would literally we'd put a stake in one end on a string. We'd draw the string all the way down the other end. So if it's going the length of the field, it would literally be over 120 yards because you go just outside the end zones and you make a
Mhm.
straight line. And then you put the stake into the ground, but you pull it really taut. And so I was always afraid of the line snapping and the little screwdriver coming and hitting me, which don't get me wrong, would be very painful, but
Right.
that's a whole lot less painful than getting sliced in half. So,
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a terrible way to go. Well, you are creating a lot of respect for loggers. 2 questions in, I will say that. So
Good.
yeah, I'm gonna have to start a hashtag free the loggers or something. Hashtag I don't know. We'll come up with a good hashtag. But yeah,
Hashtag loggers unite.
loggers unite. I
Yeah.
like it.
Also, hashtag
That actually
log.
would be a good hashtag for our show of like,
Right.
you know, and if we ever if like fans ever got together, they would have a convention and it would be Loggers Unite, the Loggers Unite convention.
But the live show would be the log jam.
The log yeah,
true.
they'll unite at the log jam though.
Right.
So they'll yeah, well, let's we're 0 for 2. This might be the first ever zero correct answers. Let's keep going.
Wait. Wouldn't the convention just be called a forest?
Oh, that's good. Oh, that makes me that I don't know why that made me think of this because you're right. Yeah, that would be it'd be a bunch of logs hanging out. So when we're doing our what are we calling it? Our log jam, everyone in the
Yeah.
audience will be our forest. This is our forest coming to that made me think because you have a toddler at home, Jeff, and
Yes.
I have a 3-year-old nephew, and we've both talked about how they love anything like heavy duty machinery vehicles. And so I don't know if you I had a follow-up question that I guess I will ask that you probably won't know is like what kind of machinery do they use to get a log? Like do they use a giant crane or like
Yeah.
you know my nephew loves excavators, like do they use some I bet you
I actually have a
toddlers would
connection
love
to that.
do you really?
Yeah.
Oh now
My cousin's
here.
wife is an engineer at John Deere and actually works on one of the logging machines that John Deere
Wow.
sells as an
You've been
engineer.
holding out on us, John. You got some logging connections.
Yeah.
Insider knowledge.
Yeah.
But
well, maybe
it depends on where you're logging from what I know as to what kind of
Gotcha.
machine it is.
That's my understanding as well. I will say though, in the last question, one of the options was log loader, which is not a position, but it is a type of vehicle.
Oh, see,
it's kind of like a grab excavator attached to a truck, which will
Yeah.
grab up a log and then load it onto the truck. So.
Oh, now I gotta find a toy now. I gotta.
But I've
Christmas-
also
Christmas
seen
gift for my
somewhere
nephew.
like it's like a track, like a track tractor. So it's got like the tank treads on it.
Yep.
That's got an arm that can, move just like a back loader. But then it's
Oh,
also
I am
got-
gonna.
like it's got, a grip on the front so it can grab onto the tree, and then it's got a saw that comes out,
Yeah.
and then it like runs it through the jaw to strip off all the branches, and then it can load it onto a truck.
Does that not sound amazing? What
So, like,
toddler wouldn't
one
love that?
person
A little
can
toy
do all
form
that.
of it. We're gonna logging toys next Christmas. I'm telling you, they're gonna explode, and it's because of us. It's because of this podcast.
Or maybe Lincoln Logs.
Yeah, well,
Ooh.
yeah.
That's
That's
a
what we'll
good
put on the log loader.
Ah,
one. Nice.
All right, 0 for 2. Shall we move on?
yeah.
Okay. I think I was trying to make this a little bit hard, but I hope
Good.
I didn't too hard.
That's all right. It'll be great
It's okay.
if we get none of them right. It'll be even
It'll
better.
be a first if neither one of us gets one.
That's good. You should really lack genius about logging.
Exactly.
In the, on
Yeah,
the
we're
show.
proving that point.
Okay. Good. All right. Question 3. So, actually, John may have a little knowledge on this one, but we'll see. So many logging companies employ a practice of controlling the growth and composition or structure and quality of the forest to meet values and needs specifically for timber production.
Oh,
That's a very wordy lead-in. Hopefully that made sense. Basically, they're employing practices to kind of, maintain the forest with the end goal of, maintaining it for timber production. So the question is, what is this practice called? So the answers are forestry, silviculture, timber taming, or harvest and renewal of timber with the acronym of HART.
wow. I gotta say, the fact that several of these, if not 3 of the 4 are made up is very impressive. And I'll also say
yeah.
that this is sort of this is sort of along the lines of what we were talking about at the beginning of, like, talking about this is a what sounds like a practical way, or a what's the word? A socially, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like responsible.
Conservation.
Yeah, responsible conservationist way to
Mhm.
conservation way to go about this. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know Purdue University has a degree in forestry. That I've got a brother-in-law that I believe has a degree in that. I've got another friend that has that. But I don't know if that is what the practice is called.
Sorry, I stepped away to stop my dog from chewing on things. Yes, a degree in forestry we were talking
Yeah.
about, right? I didn't hear
Yeah.
the last 12 seconds of whatever was said.
No, I know that forestry degree exists,
Exists,
but I don't know
yeah.
if that's what the practice is called. If it's called forestry.
Yeah. So I like the acronym of HART,
Right.
Harvest and Renewal of Timber. But I also know Jeff is a very clever guy, and I could see him. Jeff, and I'm not going to say that I would come up with something as clever as that, but Jeff seems to have a similar mind to me of, like, I want to do stuff like that, and he can actually execute it. And so I'm tempted to say that he made that up. I think I know which one I'm going to choose. Do you know which one you're going to choose, John?
I'm flipping back and forth between the first two.
I have one of those as my choice. I'm afraid to say it because yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to choose. I'm choosing B, silviculture, because honestly, I'm basing it off of the last question, where Chokerman was the last one I was thinking to choose, and silviculture is the last one I would have chosen on this one. So that's why I'm picking it.
I'll go with forestry.
Okay, here we go.
So the correct answer is silviculture.
Oh,
That's Kevin. That's John.
I was trying to remember if I ever learned what silva meant, but I don't know if I ever did.
Yes, so luckily I have in my notes that silva is Latin for forest.
Silva is? That's what
Mhm.
that's what the silva prefix is?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So actually, I guess maybe I misspoke earlier. Forestry was a little bit tricky on this question, but forestry actually is a completely different practice, I believe. And in this case, I was trying to emphasize the specifically for timber production.
Right.
I think forestry is focused a little bit more on habitat management and keeping the ecosystem intact. So, and they probably have a lot of overlap in terms of their practices,
Yeah.
but that's what this one was. I just thought that was an interesting word, so I made a question about it.
That is an interesting word, and just because the question was wordy, just to kind of drive it all home. Silviculture. It's many companies employ a practice of controlling the growth, composition, and structure and quality of forest to meet values and needs, specifically with timber production. I like that. That's very cool. I appreciate silviculture.
My guess is there's probably a lot of forestry majors that go into silviculture, but
Yeah. Oh, I want to be a silviculturist. That's what I
Yes.
want to be. Oh, someday.
I just noticed, I have a note here too that says the distinction between forestry and silviculture is that silviculture is applied at the stand level, while forestry is applied as a broader concept. So a specific stand of trees is managed for timber.
like if you've got a 5-acre parcel of land and an acre of that's forest, then silviculture would just be applying to that 1 acre of forest.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, the only thing running through my head right now is the Kesha Pitbull song called Timber, and I'm just, I'm wondering if loggers are aware of its existence and jam it every day when they're on their logging routes.
Are you going down, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm shouting Timber.
That came up a lot in my research.
I worked in top 40 radio when that song was at its peak, so I probably heard that song more than any human being on this planet. I could probably sing it word for word.
I mean, you got to applaud any song that makes it into the top 40 with a harmonica.
That's true. I do appreciate the harmonica.
Yes.
And is about logging.
Exactly.
and is a song about logging. So, would you say that's the most popular song about logging? As our resident logging expert.
I can't think of another more popular song about it, so I think it must be.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, so I got that one right. 1 for 3.
Yes.
John's 0 for 3. It was still close, but I pulled off the first one. So let's see
Yep.
how we do going forward.
We're only halfway through. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one gets kind of fun. So the Lumberjack World Championship event is held in Hayward, Wisconsin each year. Which which of these is not one of the competitive events?
That's
So
great.
we've got the Boom Run, Hot Saw, Speed Climb, or Caber Toss.
Wow. So 3
I-
of these are one and
Yeah.
one is not. Okay, what
And
do you
I'm
got, John?
fairly certain I know which one it is not.
Wow. So without giving the answer away, John, are you familiar with what is it? What was it again? The Lumberjack
Lumberjack-
World Championships.
Not necessarily that specifically, but back when I had cable and stuff, flipping through the channels, you eventually land on one of the ESPNs, and they
Yeah.
have the cutting and stuff like that, and then you just sit there and watch it for a while, and you're like, I wonder if I can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, John, the answer to you saying "Can I do that?" is yes, because you are a behemoth of a man, and I mean that with only love. You should be in those competitions. I could not do that.
There's one competition in my mind that I would not trust doing, just because of how much I weigh.
Ooh, which one? Are you gonna reveal it
It's
later?
you create a notch in the log, like it's a vertical post.
Uh-huh.
You throw another board into that notch.
Oh
You
yeah,
jump up on it, and then you do another one, and then you jump up on that, and then you gotta cut. You
that's
gotta
where weight wouldn't be
tip
an
it.
advantage. Yeah.
I don't
Um,
trust those boards.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That is a crazy competition though. I don't know the answer to this. I think I wonder if that is the speed climb or if, I don't know. Again, Jeff, your cleverness, it's like these could be real or I think that hot saw is made up. I think that sounds like something fun that Jeff would make up, and it kind of sounds like hot sauce. So I'm gonna say hot saw is the one that is not one of the events.
I'm going with caber toss.
Dang it!
And John is correct.
Nice job, John. I don't even
I
know
also
what a
know
caber
my
is.
Scottish Highland games.
Yes.
Oh, is that what that is? Is that a
Yeah,
is that-
it's literally like you get a log, like a massive 10-foot log or so,
uh-huh.
and you hold one end of it in your hands, and then you're trying to get it flip it as many times as you can, throwing it away from you.
While wearing a kilt. Right?
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Yeah, because there's nothing manlier. I mean this for real. There's nothing manlier than wearing a kilt. Okay, wow, caber toss. What do you got for us, Jeff?
Yeah, so I did throw in caber toss as something that the events of the Lumberjack World Championships made me think of the Highland Games, so I thought that might be a good one to throw in. But also, the
Nice.
names of these events, I was like, any of these could be made up.
Yeah, they're very silly,
So,
but in a good way.
yes. So I wanted to make a question that
boom run.
included some of them. Yeah, like Boom Run. Hot Saw is a real event. And I had to make sure to include the description of that one here because I knew I wouldn't remember it. But it's basically a single sawyer is actually the word for someone operating a saw. A sawyer.
A Sawyer.
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer.
Like
Yeah,
Tom Sawyer.
wow, that's where Sawyer comes from, huh?
It must be, yeah.
It must be, yeah.
Well, it's someone who saws.
Someone
Yeah.
who saws, but it's weird because it has that Y in there, so you would think why
Right.
isn't it a Thar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah.
saw.
yeah,
I'm guessing it's some old English
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Y got added on with an accent, yeah. Okay, and then so it's one person who's the Sawyer.
Yes, so they're using this is a chainsaw event. So they're using a single cylinder, single motor power saw to make 3 vertical cuts. So they go down, up, and then down through a 20-inch diameter white pine log. It's all very regulated and measured out.
Yeah, it starts with the chainsaw on the ground, their
Yes.
hands are on the log.
Yep. Oh yeah. You've seen it.
Oh yeah, no, I've watched it. It's fun.
Yes.
And then you the bell the signal goes off.
Yep.
They have to start the chainsaw, and the rope is not necessarily doesn't stay attached like a normal chainsaw. It's just a rip it and go.
Hmm.
Wow, and you, Jeff, you had said that they go down, up, down, so that means it's 3 full cuts. So they go
Yeah.
through the
Yes.
log, then they come up.
I
through
think they
another
can
portion
also
of
go
it.
up, down, up too. It just depends on how they want to.
Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
pretty impressive.
They just have to
I-
make 3 complete cuts.
I used a chainsaw for the first time in my life this past year at Camp Laverne, where I grew up going to camp and had to cut. And it's a tough tool to use, but it also is like and this is me just kind of trying to sound like I'm cool because I used a power tool, but it's you let what I learned is the more you wrestle with the tool, the worse it's going to be. You let the chainsaw do the work, and it's like slicing through butter. And so there's got to be a lot of finesse and just you see them do it and they probably make it look effortless, but that it's like any.
I mean, it's normally like 20 seconds or less, and they're done.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so fast.
That's pretty amazing. Wow.
I watched a lot of videos of this competition for the research.
And I think the speed climb was the one that I was talking about.
Yeah.
With the planks, is that what that is?
Oh, actually, no. Sorry. There,
No?
that one is.
Is that just them wearing the tree spikes and climbing?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
they have a
cool.
cable that they kind of throw around it. I'm doing a hand motion, which you can't see on a podcast, but and spiked shoes.
You can if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and then they climb up. Yeah.
They sprint up a giant post. They have I think they have a 60-foot climb and a 90-foot climb, and the race. There's two of them. They're racing. They have to get up to the top, touch a line, and then drop down. And whoever gets back down, and they're just like flying up and down.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. I would definitely recommend.
Well, and like
speed climb.
the going up doesn't seem like it would be too bad. Like on your body, because you've you've essentially got these spikes on the inside of your legs that and then there's like a little stirrup that your foot is on, so it's kind of like you're just making your own steps as you go up.
Yep.
But then going down, like you can't just free fall. Like you got to like slow your descent, so you're like hitting your legs on the pole with the spike, so that it's causing your leg to like just shoot up.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that can't feel good.
And there's got to be ways that they train for that or strengthen the right muscles,
Oh,
but
yeah.
to an extent, it's almost nothing you can do. You just got to learn to take the force of that.
Yep.
When you were describing that, right? You put the thing around the tree and you climb up it with the spikes. Is anybody else seeing like a cartoon where they did I'm picturing like a Daffy Duck doing that,
There
or a
probably
Donald Duck.
was.
Yeah, there's some old either Disney cartoon or something where that's a scene. I wonder if anybody else listening is having that moment of like, why have I seen that before?
Well, I mean, the speed climb is a thing because you'll have loggers go up to the top of trees
Yep.
to tip the trees off, so that way they're not swaying back and forth when it cut and everything. So it's like a legit thing that they're doing.
Last year on my birthday, this is how I start stories, and it sounds like I'm just telling a story about myself that has no connection, but it has a connection. Last year on my birthday at Camp Laverne, I got to see a tree be felled, right? That's what it is. It was a couple fellers showed up, and they climbed to what they did is because it was a tree that was dead, and it was near our most expensive facility on the camp is a bathroom, and it was right next to the bathroom, and we didn't want it to fall on the bathroom and get destroyed. So they climb up to the top, however they do, and they cut pieces at a time off, and they fall down. And what the coolest part was at the end when we got to see them bring the whole tree down. When it got to a point where they could bring the whole one down, it was like the loudest sound ever. And fun fact, at one point, I didn't see this happen, but the guy was up there, and I'm sure this happens to loggers all the time, but the guy was up there, and all of a sudden he felt something kind of by his leg. A little flying squirrel climbed out of his home and just soared right past him. And then when they finished cutting down the tree, they kept the little nest. You could see inside what they were living in. It was pretty sweet.
Whoa.
I mean, it's sad that their home left, but it was in a forest, so I imagine that squirrel found a new tree to make its residence in.
Maybe.
Near some
Anyways.
other expensive bathroom.
Yeah, there's me bragging again about my logging past. So we're tied now, John, right?
We are. I mean,
for four.
and if you really want to experience this logging and everything, I've got a massive pile of wood that needs chopped and split. So if you want to fly out here and do that, I would
Okay.
more than gladly let you.
We'll add that to my list of things when we play hide and seek together and go to the D&D convention and whatever else we have planned. I'll chop your wood for you. Chopping wood is something I've done before, if I can brag a little more about my logging abilities. And there is nothing, as much as I don't like to talk about gender roles and things like that, nothing has ever made me feel more manly than when slam an axe down on a piece of wood and it just chops cleanly. It's just so satisfying a feeling. No other, I shouldn't even say manly. It's a satisfying feeling for whether you're a male or female, non-binary, whatever you identify as. It's a great feeling. I highly recommend it.
It is very satisfying. I agree.
Yeah, you're bragging about
It's
your logging
satisfying
pass
when
now,
you can
Jeff?
do it for fun, but when it's a chore,
Yeah, when
it's not
a
as
chore, so
satisfying.
much. Okay.
That's true.
Well, Jeff and I will both come, and we'll have a ball, and then we'll do 2, and then we'll leave the rest for you.
You guys can load it into the basement then.
Okay, that sounds
We'll
fair.
be the log loaders.
Yeah, we'll be the log loaders. You'll be the spotter and tell us where to put them, and we'll be the log loaders. Okay, we're tied up 1 for 4 with 2 questions left, so this is coming down to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, this question is something. This is one of the first things I came across when I was researching logging, and I think I had never heard of this before. So I'll be curious to see if either of you have either. So I'll ask the question. We'll get into the answers here. But so the question is, what is the worldwide estimated value of lumber that exists underwater?
And underwater is underlined as it should be, because otherwise it'd be like, oh, we're lumber underwater. What?
Underwater.
All
I
right,
know what
what
he's
are-
talking about.
Okay, I figured you would, John. I knew you would. Well, all right. What is the worldwide estimate value in dollars, and what are our choices?
So we've got 500 million, 23 billion, 50 billion, and 170 billion.
All right. So John, before you drop your knowledge, because to play fair, I'm worried that I love John.
I mean,
knowledge.
I don't know the answer to this question. I
The
just
value
know
of
the
it.
type of lumber that he's talking about.
See, so then I'm worried that even you telling me that will lead me down a path of like, oh, well, then maybe actually it won't. Tell me about it. Tell me what you know.
I mean, what I know about it is, it could be lumber that's, been underwater for 100 years, or it could be literal thousands of years. And depending on the type of environment the water is, like if it's, more boggish and marshy or saltwater, it does different things to the wood. And I mean, some of it can literally be prehistoric in age.
Wow.
And it changes the composition of the wood. And some of it can look really cool.
Well, I do know
I feel like there used to be a show on like Discovery or History where they had someone that did this.
I know that wood can petrify. I've seen petrified wood, and it's interesting you talk about prehistoric, because I don't know the science behind this. I'd wonder if being underwater either prevents it from petrifying or speeds up the process or doesn't do anything.
Well, it depends on the environment. If it's like an anaerobic environment, meaning no oxygen, then it'll basically just preserve it.
God, smart. You're so smart.
like they're like I think it's the Black Sea. Like the very bottom of it is anaerobic, and so like there are old like sunken ships that are still very well preserved from like 1,000 or so years ago.
Oh, I bet you there's pirate ghosts on that ship too. See, that was gonna be my sort of joke, but actual, like, I wonder if this contributes to the answer. It's just a bunch of sunken ships down at the bottom of the ocean, and there's all that lumber down there that's just sitting there. And
I mean, I think some of it is that.
it's got to be a really small percentage, but because that was my initial question is when it says underwater, and I think about the Earth being, what is it, 70% water, 70, like
right.
my guess is most of it's in the ocean, but I didn't think about marshes and rivers and lakes, and I don't know, man. I have no idea. What I'm going to base my answer on is it goes in descending order: 500 million, 23 billion, 50 billion, 170 billion. I'm just going to choose the biggest one because I have no clue. So, all right, so we're both going to lock in 170 billion dollars worth.
Yep.
Okay, that is incorrect. It is 50 billion.
$50 billion worth. All right, let's go to our expert on this.
So There's a possibility I could have written this question a little bit more clearly, but what this is actually referring to is trees that have been flooded and are still exist underwater. So it actually wouldn't include pirate ships or sunken ships or anything like that. They could be haunted trees, I suppose, but
Good, thank you for that.
but yeah, a lot of what John was saying was right on, that these trees, and actually in this case, it's referring to trees that are where a dam was built up and basically a valley of trees was flooded, and they're still there, and they because they're underwater and because so little light gets to them, they're basically preserved in this amazing condition.
Wow.
So there's a company called, I think it's called Triton Lumber, and they created this unmanned, like, submersible vehicle called the Sawfish that can harvest this timber underwater. And there's some pretty cool videos on their website, but it looks like a small yellow school bus, and it goes underwater, and it has a grabber arm, and it'll go down to the bottom of the tree trunk, it'll grab it, and it'll saw it off. But because the trees are waterlogged, they won't just float up to the top. So there's also an arm that drills in an airbag, and so it attaches an airbag to it and then inflates it, and then it shoots up to the surface, and then a tugboat or something comes and gets it.
Bath time toys here. There is an industry here of toddler toys. Why there's a gold mine here? That's unbelievable.
Yes.
And my mind is, these are underwater forests basically.
Yes.
And I'm putting the pieces together, and because I this is what I do, is I say them out loud, is this is when resources are running out above the water, it's hello, we have all of this, we have $50 billion worth underwater, so let's make a magic school bus and inflate these trees to the top of the water.
Yes.
That's insane.
But then at that point, you've got to ask, fish and other organisms have turned that into their homes as well. So what kind of damage are you doing to that ecological area?
Yep.
Yes. They claim it's very eco-friendly, but they're the ones who invented the technology to harvest it. So.
And what a weird! I mean, it just shows you the stretch of human, the footprint that we've made. Because, as Jeff said, a lot of these were, maybe, I don't know how many, but we put up a dam in the first place and flooded this forest. And
either that or
very
ambitious beavers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's blame the beavers. # blame beavers.
Yes.
Blame the beavers.
Yes.
It's just super fascinating. It's a conversation. Again, we are no pun intended with the water stuff, but we're being very surface level here, and we understand that there are probably a lot. There are a lot of environmentalists out there who likely care passionately about a lot of this stuff, and we're just giving facts right now, and it's very cool to be able to do that. This is something I had no idea existed. So you've blown you just dropped a John knowledge bomb on us, Jeff.
All right, good.
Jeff, I had a question from the previous question about the World Championships that I forgot to ask.
Okay, yeah.
After learning about these, and I assume, since you're in Wisconsin, that's within a couple-hour drive.
Yeah, can you go? Oh my God.
Are you wanting to go to this now?
Is it close to you?
I totally want to go. I looked it up. Wisconsin's bigger than I realized. Hayward's at a 5-hour drive. So I don't know, but it happens in July, I believe. They've got the dates set for the next 5 years. So I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool to go and see in person, because it's pretty impressive. So it definitely got me thinking about it.
Well, Jeff, the only way you're going to get recognized by the American Logging Association, actually, no, sorry, what are we, the last American, the LALA, is if you show up to one of these logging competitions. So just keep that in mind as you make your decision.
That would be a great location for a live podcast episode.
Well, John, I was going to say, man, when I go out visit you in Indiana and I chop your wood and we play hide and seek, we got to make a road trip up to Wisconsin.
I mean,
up and over.
Where? What part of Wisconsin is it in? Is it the top up by Minnesota or?
Yep. Yeah, it's northwest.
Okay, so we're talking about an 8-hour drive from where I am.
Red Bull, we both love Mountain Dew. They'll be our sponsor for the trip. We'll do a whole lot of Dew.
Depends on if you want to go through Chicago or not.
Oh boy, yeah.
And if you want to pay any tolls.
I see. Well, Either way, that sounds like a lot of fun, and I do think John, when when we're able to, we need to really lean into some of this logging stuff and
Oh, yeah.
really just say when we have the resources, we will live stream, we will do a live podcast from these championships.
I mean, I think we actually have the resources now, honestly.
Do we?
Yeah.
You're saying we're rolling in dough? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying because we're using the service that we are now,
Oh,
we
got
could
it.
just use our
Oh, yeah.
phones.
Yeah, I more meant the money to like travel and do all that
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
But yeah, we are using a great system for doing our podcast, and we
Yeah.
won't say their name until they officially sponsor us. So, yeah, good times, good times. We both missed that one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All I knew is that because we
We're
chose
still
the same
tied
one,
1-1.
that we were going to go into the last question tied because we're doing 6 questions and we're 1 for 5 going into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's pressure.
I'm gonna add one more thing about the underwater.
Please do, yes.
Flooded forest. Apparently, there are 45,000 places across the world that have this type of flooded forest. So that's where and why it's $50 billion worth of lumber is.
So
submerged.
it's roughly $1 billion a place.
Yeah, I guess so. 45. Yeah. Do you have any idea what, like, is there a leading continent and/or country that has more of these than any other?
I don't know. The technology was developed in Canada, I believe.
Oh, yeah, you would guess
so
in
I think there
general. Well, I
was-
guess forests. Well, no, I was gonna make a general statement about where most forests are, but no, there are forests everywhere. I'm glad I stopped myself.
But there's a lot of them in Canada.
There are a lot in Canada, that's for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Let's just say Canadian then.
Yeah,
All
Yeah.
right.
North American.
Yeah.
This company that created the sawfish harvester also created one called the shark, which is so the sawfish is for really deep harvesting. The
Uh-huh.
shark is for more shallow, and it literally looks like an excavator, like strapped onto a barge, and then it has this arm that does something basically the same thing, but it's like this telescopic arm that will like reach way down to the bottom of the tree, grab it, slice it off, and then pull it back up out of the water and stick it on a barge. That's
That's
pretty cool.
insane. And these I don't know how much a tree weighs, but like these
Yeah.
when you think about it,
Water
describe it, it's like,
logs,
yeah, they reach down, they grab it, they pull it up, but these are tons of trees,
Yeah.
It's hydraulics
that's
for you.
amazing. Yeah, and well, and John, you sort of mentioned that you think there was a show on this, but if this is something that I want to go find like a Discovery documentary about or a National Geographic or something. This sounds like
I think it was like either History Channel or Discovery. Like they had a logging show, and like one of the groups that they followed, like it wasn't ones like what Jeff was talking about where it was in a dammed area. This was there was a marsh or something, and they found this old tree in there, so they paid the owner money for it, and so it's them getting it out. I feel like
gotcha.
that's kind of
Well, we'll start. We got work to do. We got the 3 of us. I've signed all 3 of us up for we're gonna make logging toys. We're gonna start a logging documentary. we're gonna start a loggers' rights union. So we got a lot of work to do. But this is just we got to get through question 6 first, though, guys. So just stay calm. We're gonna get there. It's yeah, this is all very. I will say before we wrap up with question 6 and then do an actual wrap up, Jeff, man, you were killing it. You are knocking it out. This is so informative.
Right?
I'm super intrigued and fascinated by everything I've learned so far.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that. I didn't know how to make these questions. I tried to actually. I got stuck at one point. I just Googled like logging quiz to see if I could steal some.
I've done something like that before, like interesting facts about,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That wasn't a helpful search. Logging is like a term that's used in like coding or computer programming or something like that. Like so, there's a lot of other stuff that comes up.
Oh, I look at logs every day for work, so
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Okay, good. So the question 6 then, here comes.
Ooh.
All right, Paul Bunyan is probably the most well-known fictional lumberjack. In versions of his folklore, he is a giant credited for creating some natural features across North America.
Oh,
Which of these is not one that is said to be created by Paul Bunyan? So,
Cool.
which one is not said to be created by Paul Bunyan? So, we've got the 10,000 Lakes of Minnesota, the Grand Canyon, Mount Hood, or the Yukon River.
do you know it, John?
I have a clarifying question.
Okay.
Is this also including Babe?
Babe the Ox.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the two of them together created 3 out of the 4 of these.
Yes.
Okay. Because
I
my,
did
my
not-
thinking my thinking was that Babe is the one that caused the 10,000 lakes. It's from him stepping around.
I did not know this folklore in general, but I do.
It,
I have a
it-
vision
It
of
might be a very Midwest thing, but there was like a cartoon
Yeah,
thing too.
I'm envisioning a cartoon, and I remember.
Mhm.
I remember Paul Bunyan running around and chopping down trees with one hand, and I remember Babe going and like knocking down rocks or slinging trees, and he was just a force, man. He was a force to be reckoned with. But I did not. I don't think I knew about the folklore of creating these landmarks.
Mhm. I think it's Mount Hood.
You think that's the one that's not? That's not one of the
Right.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, I know Mount Hood is in Oregon.
I've been
Um,
there. I've been on it. Just to add to I was there for logging purposes, so I felt like that was appropriate for me to bring up. I've also been to the Grand Canyon for logging. But I it's hard because Grand Canyon, I think, out of these, again, I'll read the choices again just for the listener: 10,000 Lakes of Minnesota, Grand Canyon, Mount Hood, Yukon River. Yukon. Where's the Yukon territory at? Where's that at?
That's eastern Alaska, western Canada.
That's right. Okay, got it. Yes. For some reason I was like, isn't that Canada? But yeah, Alaska. That's right.
I think it's Alaska and Northwest Territory, kind of share that Yukon area.
Gosh, this is so interesting. I'll be honest. Grand Canyon is kind of what I want to choose, only because it's like the most recognizable one. But at the same time, I'm like, is that smart? Because that would be a potentially obvious thing. Like, yeah, of course, the Grand Canyon is the biggest one that he made. But I wonder if Grand Canyon has a separate tale and is so widely known that the the folklore behind it doesn't include Paul Bunyan. I'm gonna pick Grand Canyon because I'm talking about it so much. I'm gonna do it.
I'm going with Mount Hood.
Yeah, I thought you might, and hopefully one of us is right. How do we do, Jeff?
Unfortunately, neither of you is right.
Is it Yukon?
It's the Yukon River.
And I was almost the logic I was going to use for that is that is further up northwest, kind of removed from the rest of it, and maybe but yeah, wow. So, what do you have any fun facts for us on this?
Yeah, so this was super interesting. I started to look into Paul Bunyan thinking this is not going to be that interesting, but it actually really was. It's a fictional character for sure, but it kind of falls into this category called fake lore instead of folklore because the way that it was actually created as a marketing campaign for a lumber company. But it was written as if it were folklore, and many people just believed it was. So they believed that these stories had been around for much longer than they really had been. And so most of what we know about Paul Bunyan is made up by marketing campaigns, including the fact that he created the Grand Canyon by dragging his axe behind him as he walked.
That's what I
that
was remembering. Yeah.
Oh, got
that
it.
was
That's funny.
Suggested to have been just made up by some marketing person for the.
That's
for
pretty
the Grand
brilliant.
Canyon.
That's pretty brilliant, though. Yeah.
It is. It just creates this image in your mind, right? That just kind
Yep.
of sticks with you, and yeah, that's a pretty good one. And then yeah, John, you were right about the 10,000 lakes of Minnesota that was said to have been created by their footprints. And then actually the Mount Hood story is said that that was created when he put out fire by piling up rocks.
Wow, there's a
would
big
be Mount
fire
Hood.
under Mount Hood.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a marketing. Oh my goodness. So the Spice Girls, I promise this is connected. I actually do have a connecting fact to this. I've been listening to a podcast lately, and it's about the Spice Girls wannabe, and girl power was their slogan, right? And it was created as this brand, this marketing tool, right?
Mhm.
But there are a lot of, there's a conversation, at least in this podcast, there were conversation among young women who were girls at the time, and they're like, well, we just lied to by a marketing slogan. But the thing is, both can be true. I think it can be that there was, yes, it was a marketing slogan that worked really well, but it also did empower a lot of young girls to be like, yeah, girl power. And much like, look, if it was marketing, fine, but it's also a great folklore tale that has withstood the generations. I think that's great. I think that's fine. I think that's great. Both can exist.
Yes. I was trying to find this too, like where's the supposed origin of Paul Bunyan? Many cities claim, to be the birthplace of Paul Bunyan, and there are tons of Paul Bunyan statues all over.
Got one in
all
Muncie?
over North America.
Actually, I don't know if it's necessarily Paul Bunyan, but yeah,
There is a logger. There is a lumberjack.
yeah, it's outside of a restaurant,
Good.
That sounds right.
So what did your research
which I
lead you
believe
to
is
then,
called
Jeff?
Timbers.
And Pitbull and Kesha perform there every night.
Come to think of it, Paul Bunyan's bald. And
Yeah, wait a minute. This whole time. Oh my gosh. So is there any leading city that is considered to be the home of Paul Bunyan, or do too many claim it?
a lot of them claim it. I think the one that comes up the most is, see if I can pronounce this correctly, Bemidji.
Bemidji.
Oh, Bemidji. I know that from Fargo.
It's the headwaters of the
Oh.
Mississippi.
Yes, and actually they do say, I haven't seen this, but they do claim that there is the Paul Bunyan statue in Bemidji is featured in I believe the television show.
It
Fargo.
is. Yes, it is. I remember seeing it now. That season is great. And Bemidji is such a silly name. I remember that so clearly. Yeah. And Paul Bunyan is featured several times, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like an establishing shot that they show. Like, we're back in Bemidji. Here's the Paul Bunyan.
Nice.
Wow. All right. I'm happy with saying Bemidji. If we have any listeners in Bemidji, if you're hearing my voice right now, just send us an email and say you're listening. Okay. Wow, Jeff, that's super cool. What else you got? You got anything else about Paul Bunyan for us?
I don't think I do. There's a fascinating Wikipedia entry about Paul Bunyan, but
Just take
no,
the time to read
I tried
it.
to find out how many statues there were because I think there's a ton of them, and then a couple of really big ones. But I couldn't find the total anywhere, so I would love to know that if anybody sends a tidy up on it.
The other thing that's coming to mind, it's ironic this is coming to mind because Jeff, you introduced me to a podcast this week. What is it called again? The creative one?
Creative Pep Talk.
Creative Pep Talk. It's really good if you're a creative type. And I've only listened to like 2 episodes, but already it's like, woo, I feel inspired. Just in passing, he mentioned this saying I had never heard before that he kind of jokingly said was George Washington, but I don't know if it really was. I don't know who it was, but that the question was posed, if you have 3 hours to cut down a tree, how would you spend that time? And the answer was, I'd spend 2.5 hours sharpening my axe. And then the idea being that if you prepare, if you get your tools, if you get the things you need in place, you can accomplish a task. Now, the flip side to that, though, is like if you spend too much time preparing, then you're overthinking and you're blah, blah, blah. But I thought that was a really cool thing. I was like, yeah. Spend the time working on that axe. It's going to cut down that tree, no problem, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, made me think of us and our manly well, I should stop using manly, and our empowering flannels that make us feel as though we can do anything like chop down trees. Wow.
Yeah, some of us actually wear the flannels because it gets cold.
I will say, in December when it gets down to 61 degrees here, that's when the flannels come out. That's when the flannels come out.
I can't say too much right now. It's 55 here right now.
Oh, hey, lucky
But
you.
on Tuesday, it's supposed to be a low of 17.
Okay, yeah, we don't get that. Yeah, it might actually be warmer there right now. It's kind of chilly outside right now, but yeah, that won't last for long.
And Jeff, what's it in Wisconsin?
We're at 37 right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the normal. We had a
Getting
warm
wintry.
day.
Oh my goodness, life is so different when you're in a completely different part of the nation.
Yeah, imagine that.
I know. How about that? Well, that was awesome. So for tidy up purposes, we tied, John, which that's crazy because
Yeah.
we've now had 2 ties in the last like 3 episodes after
Right.
having none for a bunch. So I do think the grand total is, I think I have 11 wins, you have 10, and we've tied now 4 times. Whatever it is, that's mighty impressive. But the more important storyline here is that Jeff, you've officially earned a certification from Lala. we will, the patch is in the mail. You are an official logger, not only as a fan of the show, but I think you can go out and hop in as an entry level. What was it again? Log loader? No, that was the wrong one.
Chokerman.
Yes, yeah, I think you can go get yourself a chokerman job if you wanted to with the knowledge you presented today. So
Nice.
thank you.
I assume the patch will protect me from getting sliced in half. By a
Exactly, yeah.
cable.
You put it right in the middle of your
Yeah,
body.
100% steel.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jeff. That was awesome. And I will shout out Jeff as a fantastic artist as well, which I've done in previous times.
Mhm.
But I have worked with Jeff on many projects in terms of doing graphics and art design and marketing campaigns. And he's a brilliant guy. Instagram's still the best way to get you.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great way.
Jeff A. McAvoy.
Yep.
MCAVOY. Jeff A. McAvoy. If you just check out his art, say hi to him. And Jeff, you're a legend. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the invite to come on and create a
Mhm.
quiz about logging. Like I said, I learned a ton and gained a ton of respect for loggers and just knowledge about the industry. I still lack very much genius, but it was really cool to figure out. Oh, there's a lot I don't know, and this is a pretty fascinating field.
It's kind of the fun of this.
Yeah,
Cool.
you've opened the door for us, and we appreciate that. And that's been one of the fun things about this podcast. And you know, I'm sort of talking to the listeners now that I you know, we thank you for listening, because part of the fun of this has been like, yeah, we're gonna, you know, I think it started off with John and I saying we're gonna quiz each other on things that we like, but it turns out we have a lot to learn about things that we like. And at the same time as we're learning from giving a quiz, we're learning about a quiz. And so I hope the listener is enjoying it. I know we are, and I'm just trying to have a shared experience with the people who are listening to this. So I hope that's what's coming across. And we have a sort of an appreciation episode, kind of, next week. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but we're celebrating. Are we spoiling what we're celebrating? Or
I don't think we're spoiling it.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, it okay if we spoil it and say what we're celebrating?
Yeah. I mean,
you want to tell them?
yeah. I mean, the next, this was episode 25.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know sometimes we get very pedantic about, well, that was only, so many months, but in reality, it's
your
this.
dad.
Yeah. and me at times.
Yeah, you at
But
times.
the next episode, I think we can fairly say is, it's episode 26, which means we've been doing this for next week would be 26 weeks straight, which the last I checked is technically half a year.
There are 52 weeks in a year.
So next week we're celebrating half a year of doing this podcast, which I mentioned that to my wife, and she's like, "What? You've been doing it for that long now?"
That's what I'm about to say. I don't have a wife to say that to. That's incredible. I can't believe we've been doing that for 26 weeks.
Right?
That's crazy. And yeah, when other podcasts are doing their 6-month anniversary, screw that, man. 26 weeks is where it's at. That's exactly sliced down the middle. And we're gonna we haven't even really discussed in detail what we're doing, but if you've been listening to our past 25 episodes, the knowledge that we've learned along the way is what we're going to be quizzing each other on. And we're probably going to lack a lot of genius on our own podcast, I think, is what we're going to prove tomorrow. Next week. Yeah. But we're really looking forward to it. And yes, we're doing it to have some fun, but it's also a way for, if you have been listening this whole time, I think it'll be a fun way for you to kind of go back through the last 26 weeks with us and see what you remember from it. So
yeah. And then on episode 52, we may do the same thing. And do stuff from the first half that we've completely forgotten about because we don't have memories.
Yes, they don't exist. They don't exist. Yeah.
So then it's all new again, and so
yeah, we learn every time. I'm just gonna keep trying to learn. I'm gonna keep trying to hold on to memories. All I know is I will cherish the memories of this logging episode for a long time to come, and by that I'll probably forget it all in 3 weeks. Is what I mean. But
in the words of my favorite fictional coach, be a goldfish.
That's Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah.
My favorite fictional coach I've already mentioned is Gordon Bombay, played by Emilio Estevez in Mighty Ducks.
Another good one.
Ted Lasso's a close second. All right. Well, Jeff, thanks again, man.
Yes, thank you.
Let's go out and make some Magic School Bus toys for the kids to play with their logging gear. And yeah, Jeff, thanks again, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was super fun.
Yeah.
All right. We'll catch y'all next week. Have a great week ahead.
See ya.